Hello everyone, and you're watching Bitcoin Bubble news channel. So the world will be different once banks can hold Bitcoin. I could put Bitcoin in a bank with a balance sheet worth $1 trillion. Every year they would give me 500 basis points. You get 550 basis points risk-free if you put your money in T-bills right now. I believe that banks will offer Bitcoin holders 550 basis points without any risk when they are able to store the Bitcoin. Michael Saylor talks about the future of Bitcoin as it starts to interact with standard banking systems in a new interview for Bitcoin magazine. In this article, Saylor talks about the possible effects of banks accepting Bitcoin. This makes people wonder whether this will help or hurt the open nature of cryptocurrencies. He talks about how the basic ideas behind Bitcoin might either fit in with or go against the rules and operations of banks. Bitcoin is worth about $59,000 right now. It has lost about 1% in value in the last day and a much bigger 43% value in the last week. Before we go on with the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to our daily 5-minute crypto email. It has all the latest Bitcoin and crypto news. It's a great look at on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is that it's free. In short, they'll talk about what experts think will happen, how on-chain crypto data is broken down, and any breaking news you need to know. To become a better crypto trader right now, click the first link in the description and enter your email address. Over 50,000 other people have already done the same thing. When the government is against the crypto custodian, the banks, and the institutional custodian, it hurts the ETF business and the asset. The third point is that all we need is for the CC, the OCC, and the FDIC to let banks like Goldman, Citigroup, and JP Morgan do business. Also, the CEO of JP Morgan said some things that might make you dislike the company. But I can promise you that JP Morgan will start the process to hold Bitcoin within a year or two of when it becomes possible to do so. They will store Bitcoin for 4 years because it is money, and that's what they do. You want Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan to be able to store Bitcoin because if they can buy it for you. They can also sell it if they can buy it. They will lend you money and give you interest on it if they can buy, sell, and store it. In other words, things would be very different if you got 5% interest on your Bitcoin while you still had it. Also, I believe they will lend you money at SOFR, which is 550 basis points plus a 50 basis point bonus. If Citibank or Bank of America can hold the Bitcoin, you can get a 6% loan from them. Third, they will let you use the Bitcoin as security against your home or debt. And I think you'll be able to refinance your loan. You could get a 100% loan to value or a 120% loan to value by putting something of value up as collateral. Right now, if you went to one of these banks with a $5 million house and asked for a loan, they might say, well, I can loan you 70% or 60%. It's best for me to lend you $3 million against the house. By the way, it used to be 2.5%. I told people to get mortgages and buy Bitcoin. At the time, Bitcoin was worth $40,000 and mortgages had 2% interest. By the way, I took infinite crap for that. Now let's say you need to borrow $3 million. They would tell you, I'll lend you $3 million against the house, or I'll make the mortgage $5 million. If you put up some securities like Apple stock, they will give you a $5 million loan with 2.5% interest if you post T-bills, Apple stock, or the SPETF. You could have done the same thing with those investments that are good for institutions. Think about a world where you could use Bitcoin to pay off your debt or borrow money with interest rates of 3%, 4%, or 5% for 10 to 30 years. Yes? And what do you need to do? The banks got a hold of it. They learned that Bitcoin is an asset that is just as good as Apple stock or a T-belt because they used it. Now that we've heard from Michael Saylor, let's move on to another important part of Bitcoin's history, its rise in political debate. Saylor thinks this is the most important time in Bitcoin's history because it's the first time that presidential candidates have talked about it in public. This recognition from such a high level of government could mean a big change in how cryptocurrencies are seen and controlled in the future. Saylor stresses how important this moment is for all digital currencies, not just Bitcoin, because it could be the start of their acceptance by the masses. Let's keep looking into the important ideas that Michael Saylor brought up in this first of its kind Bitcoin magazine talk. This is the most important week for Bitcoin ever. This is a big deal. This is the week that two of the three presidential candidates are here, along with a former president and, according to Trump, perhaps the next president. There are also 10 senators, a lot of congressmen, and governors here, and the media is paying a lot of attention. I think this is a big deal. It's like a coming out party for Bitcoin. And it's very weak because they know the group has a lot of political power. They also know that this is an important tool for the success of the United States and for the whole world. So I believe this week is wonderful. Things are about to change. Let's talk about why this is a turning point before I tell you about the next step. At this point, things are about to change because there's a message underneath this that says Bitcoin is digital property, Bitcoin is property rights, Bitcoin is moral, Bitcoin is technically sound, Bitcoin is economically sound, Bitcoin is a tool for economic freedom, and now the establishment agrees with you. We all knew it 4 years ago, but it's not clear that the establishment knew about it. In 2020, the major news outlets didn't even talk about the business. This week, I think the public and the establishment around the world got a wake-up call that Bitcoin is here to stay. Bitcoin is the way of the future. If the US seized a car, a drug shipment, a crate of foreign cash, pesos, euros, paintings, or collectibles, or even your house, they would sell it. Yes, really, that's what you should do, sell off any kind of property. So the fact that he said the government would not sell it makes Bitcoin more valuable than all other property. As a first step, we need to agree that Bitcoin is property. And this is. And if it's property, you have the right to own it. The second thing is that this land is better than that one. I know what it is. The third thing we're going to do is make a national Bitcoin strategic reserve for the United States. That's very important. Bitcoin used to be something that was bad for you. Would you like to get rid of them to something good that we want to keep? I believe that what just happened is very important. Now Bitcoin is the new world. It's risky and dangerous and people have been through a lot to get here, like Ross Ulbricht. He is aware of that. That is something he values and he is ready to stand up and tell everyone that. That will be a point of view that has an effect on every government in the world, including the elite. The people in Germany will look at that and think, well, if the US isn't going to sell as Bitcoin, then we must have been pretty stupid to sell our Bitcoin. I believe that's. In this interview, he tells an interesting story about how Bitcoin works with standard money systems and how it has changed the political scene. We'd like to know what you think about some things. What do you think will happen to Bitcoin now that banks are involved? And what do you think the current political debates will mean for its future? Here are two great movies that you can watch for more daily crypto news. Click now, and we'll see you in the next movie.